Hey, I'm Leslie Turner. I'm a mom, a somatic practitioner, and an intuitive coach. This is the Intuitive Drop, short conversations about emotional truth, the nervous system, and living from your intuition in real life without losing your mind along the way. Let's drop in. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Intuitive Drop. Today, I want to talk about something that I think you already know how to do. You've just maybe never had a language for it. It's that thing where your body makes a decision before your brain has caught up. And I know we've talked about this on the podcast before. And how once you know what that feels like, you can't unknow it. Okay, let's get into it. So I was on Bumble for a little while, which is a dating app. And I want to say I was I was kind of good at it. But what I was actually good at was first dates. I went on a lot of them. At one point, I think I was living in Kitchener, and I had 3 in one day. Coffee in the morning, lunch, and then drinks at night. 3 different guys. I was really committed to this process. And what I learned from all of those first dates is that my body makes up its mind very quickly. There was one guy, I got there a few minutes early, ordered a Caesar, waited for him. He comes in, sits down, and within about, 60 seconds of small talk, I asked him what he liked about his job, and he looked at me and he goes, "I feel like I'm on a job interview." And I was like, "Oh, I'm just trying to get to know you, dude." And that was it. Done. Not because he was a bad person, just my system had what it needed. The answer was absolutely no. There was another one where he pulled up, got out of his truck, and before he even said a word, the way he carried himself, the way he held his head, something in me quietly went, "Hey, this is not your guy." I hadn't even shaken his hand yet. And this used to make me feel a little guilty because I felt like maybe I should give them more time, be more open, stop being so quick to decide. And then I met my now husband, Jarrett. He was already waiting outside the restaurant when I walked up, tall, blue eyes, and I felt myself just lean in, like something in me had already said yes before we even sat down. Now, we ate the world's worst chicken wings, and when he said, "Do you want to go walk on the beach?" I didn't even have to think about it. I wasn't ready to be done with this man. We walked, he grabbed my hand, which is a very bold move on a first date, by the way. And the conversation just never stopped. There was no performing, no needing to pump my own tires. He wanted to know me, and I wanted to be known by him. It was just easy. We ended up sitting in his truck and talking until it got dark. He still quotes my Bumble profile back to me, the girl who had her proverbial shit together. He couldn't figure out how I was still single. And I couldn't have explained at the time why those other dates felt wrong immediately, and this one felt so right. Because I didn't really have a checklist. I was open to meeting whoever, but I knew, my body knew. And I had finally learned to trust it, but I didn't really know it then. I didn't know it as intuitive somatic awareness at that point. I have been an entrepreneur for 14, 15 years now. And somewhere along the way, I realized to do the exact same thing with ideas. Now, usually it's ideas that are coming at me from someone else. So someone will tell me about something they want to build, and my body responds before I have a single logical thought about it. I had a friend recently tell me about a concept she wanted to create. So it's kind of a community initiative rooted in something that she'd lived through personally, something that came from real loss and real love and a real gap she'd seen with her own eyes while she was going through stuff. And when she told me, I didn't even evaluate it. I didn't weigh the pros and cons even. The ideas just started coming. I was already mapping it out with her before she finished explaining it. And I got really excited. That full body, no convincing required, yes. And she's already making it happen. It was a concept a few months ago and it's already selling out. That's what a yes looks like in real life. And then I felt the other thing too. Someone shares a big idea and I smile and I'm encouraging and I'm supportive, and yet something in me is just quiet, not against it necessarily, and I'm not judging it, just not lit up by it. because the body knows the difference between real infrastructure and just excitement, between an idea that has roots and an idea that has superficial aesthetics. Now, I am not here to yuck anybody's yum, but I've also been doing this long enough that I can feel the difference. And I know you can too. When I left naturopathic medicine, as I've talked about, it was 4 years of schooling, 11 years of practice, and an identity, and I moved into somatic work. It was terrifying. Logically, it made no freaking sense. I was walking away from credentials, a title, a patient base, an entire version of myself. But my body had already decided it wasn't a question of if, it was a question of this is happening. So we're not going to question it. It was scary. But it was also certain at the same time. And that's a really specific feeling. And if you've ever felt it, you know exactly what I mean. And then there's even this podcast. My friend and business coach, Laura, brilliant human, planted the seed, just mentioned it kind of in passing at one of our calls. And I sat with it for a day, maybe, and then was like, well, of course I'm going to do this. Obviously, it just made sense in a way I couldn't fully articulate. But it became easy almost immediately. The recording, the editing, the uploading, easy. Not without effort. It still takes time and effort, but easy in the way that things are easy when you're in the right place. But what I've realized since is that it only became easy because my body had already been doing it for a year without calling it a podcast. For a year before the podcast existed, I was creating 10 to 15-minute video episodes for my private 1111 Club membership. I was researching, doing the content, recording, editing in nature. I was already doing this. I just hadn't put a label on it or put it out to the public as a podcast. So when the word podcast came into my consciousness, my body didn't even hesitate because it already knew. It had been knowing this for a year, but someone just had to name it. And within 4 days, I had my first episode recorded, uploaded, and sent out. That's the yes. It doesn't always feel like a lightning bolt. Sometimes it's quiet and it's been building underneath. And then someone names it and you go, oh yeah, of course. This is so obvious. When you bring your own ideas to yourself, the things that you're considering, the things you keep coming back to or that wake you up at 2 a.m., what does your body do? Does it light up? Do the ideas come kind of without massive effort? Does it feel less like a decision and more like recognition? Like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. There it is. Or does it go quiet? Is the excitement mostly about maybe the outcome that you're imagining, the money, the version of you on the other side? But when you get into the actual work, something in you doesn't quite move forward with it. And this one's important. Are you sitting on something that you've actually already been doing, just without the official label on it yet? Because sometimes the yes has been living in you for a very long time, but you've been waiting for someone to name it. You don't have to think your way into knowing. Your body has been tracking this the whole time. It really does know what drains you and what fills you back up. It knows the difference between fear that means stop and fear that means this is real and this matters. The work isn't figuring out the answer. The work is learning to trust that you already have it. And if you want to start right now, let's do it together. Bring something to mind, an idea that you've been sitting with or a decision you keep circling, something that you're considering but haven't totally committed to it yet. Don't analyze it. Don't pros and cons list it. Just let it land in your body for just a second. Bring it to mind. And now notice. Is there an opening in the body somewhere, an expansion? Does your chest kind of feel a little lighter, excited? Do you feel yourself leaning towards it, like you're already moving before you've decided to move? Or does something go a little quieter, a subtle contraction, a flatness? Not dread necessarily, but just nothing's moving. And that's it. That's your data. It was there the entire time. You just have to get quiet enough to feel it. And the more you practice noticing it in those small moments, the first date, the business idea, the opportunity that lands in your inbox, the louder it gets when it really matters. And keep in mind, this is not a no forever. It might be just a timing thing. I've had lots of ideas over the years that fell flat immediately, and it wasn't that I wasn't good at those things, it was that the timing was off. So I have to listen to that. If my intuition and my body are telling me not right now, it feels very similar to a no. And discerning the difference, putting it just on the shelf for a little while is key. The yes doesn't always feel safe. It doesn't always feel logical or convenient or even perfectly timed, but it feels unmistakable. And once you know what that feels like really know it in your body, everything else just becomes information. Thanks for being here. Share this with someone who's standing at a crossroads right now and needs to hear it. And I'll talk to you next week. If something in this landed for you, I'd love to support you further, whether that's through private sessions, ongoing containers, or simply listening to another episode. Trust what feels right. All the ways to work with me are linked below. There's no pressure, just options. Thank you for being here and for doing the quiet, brave work of listening to yourself.